Now, Charlie's a bit funny anyway. He's got a kind of weird sense of humour. But he then started getting into a stage where he no longer wanted to cooperate. This is what happens with Charlie. He cooperates for a while and then he thinks, oh, this is boring. On House Block 4, they had a kind of a spur that was kept empty. It was storage and stuff like that, but there's about 6 or 8 cells down there, and they would use it if anyone kicked off. It was like the segregation for House Block 4. Rather than take you all the way down the landings to the actual block, which was about half a mile away, they could put you in there to let you calm down. So what they done was they cleaned it up a bit down there when Charlie was coming. He was at Charlie Bronson. He was at one of his stages when he still was Charlie Bronson, where he was kind of behaving himself and trying to get a change in his conditions. So the governor of Parkhurst sent him to Belmarsh, and in Belmarsh he knew a couple of the screws from the old days, and they decided to trust him. They went to the governor and said, look, let him out, let him do a bit of work, give him a mattress to work out on, he'll be good as gold. So they kind of give him the run of that little spur. And then the Afghan hijackers, they moved 2 of them onto his spur. Now, Charlie's a bit funny anyway. He's got a kind of weird sense of humour. But he then started getting into a stage where he no longer wanted to cooperate. This is what happens with Charlie. He cooperates for a while and then he thinks, oh, this is boring. And he didn't want to cooperate no longer, so he's looking around for a way that he can make his mark, add a bit more to his legend, get shipped out, maybe to Wakefield or somewhere, one of the prisons he really knew well, where he spent a long time. So what he done was, because there was only 3 of them on the spur, they made them all cleaners so they could clean their own spur. So the 2 Afghan guys were out cleaning, and Charlie called them over and said, come in here, come in here, come here. He said, I've got something to show you. So as soon as they were in his cell, he slammed the cell door. There's no handle on the inside, obviously, so he's locked in there with them. And then he started terrorising them and telling them like that they should never have come to England because now they're stuck with him. And he's going to use them to get out, and he was going to fly to Afghanistan. And how he done that was he told them, when they come to negotiate at the door, he said, I want a plane to Afghanistan. He said, I'm taking me 2 new mates with me. Because by now he'd been making them laugh, and he'd been in the cell with them for about 4 or 5 hours. And even though they were terrified, they didn't know who this guy was or anything about him. And he wanted an apple pie and a pogo stick, so he could do a bit of exercise in his cell with a pogo stick. Anyway, so that's what Charlie told him. And in the meantime, while he was waiting, he just drove the Afghans mad. He took his shoes and socks off, laid on the bed and said, right, tickle my feet. And they had to stand at the bottom of the bed tickling his feet. What else did he do? Oh, he threatened them with like so many things. And they could barely speak English. So it was like water off ducks back to them. But they knew they were in a cell with a madman, who, it was quite easy to see. And I'm not sure how long it lasted. I think it was about 8 hours or something, and then he let them out. Or they were going to take it. Because what happens is that, here's another thing that not a lot of people know. In the new prisons, like Belmarsh and High and prisons like that, because of the danger of barricading cells up, it was always a big trouble in the past. If you barricaded your cell up, it would take them forever to get in there, and if you had a hostage, you could kill the hostage by the time they got in, and this was a big problem. When they built Belmarsh, they made the doors on a pole so you could open them outwards or inwards. So if somebody barricaded themselves in a prison cell, there was a square lock that you put the key into, and then the door would open outwards. So it didn't matter that they were barricaded in, the screws could get in. So they eventually got into Charlie's cell. And I'd love to know what happened to the Afghan hijackers actually after that ordeal. I should imagine they applied to go back to Afghanistan. But yeah, that was it basically. It shut down the prison. Obviously they had to shut down the prison while this was going on. This is a major incident. And people were, apparently, staff were phoning up the newspapers outside to try and earn a few quid by reporting the story, and eventually it got into the newspapers and that. But yeah, basically Charlie got what he wanted. He got shipped out straight away. I think he ended up in Woodhill. And that was the bit of excitement for that week.